Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a Shelby on Safari. Could help if I could introduce the channel correctly. Good evening. Welcome to a Shelby on Safari live stream. Tonight is going to be a true Shelby on Safari special, for we are looking not only at animals, pop culture, but also history. That's right, friends. In celebration of the current event happening in Pokemon Go, the Mountains of Power event, in which we are being surrounded by a plethora of Slugma Pokemon, it got me thinking the other day, what are some of the legends surrounding lava, and what are some animals that are actually tied to volcanoes and have a correlation? Because often here on Shelby on Safari, as a wild animal biologist and Pokemon trainer, I often look at what real-life Pokemon are like animals. What real-life animals are like Pokemon? And usually I'm a bit more of a wordsmith, but tonight, alas, the words escape me. Very first loss of the evening. Excellent. 1 minute in and already got one. So, in tonight's video, it's going to be a little different. I'm not going to obviously find an animal to compare to a body of molten lava that is Slugma. No, I decided we'd go a little bit of a different route. So we're going to go around the world, kind of like we have been the past few weeks. You can tell I'm eager to get out and travel safely in hopefully the near future. But we're going to be looking at some tales of lava and specifically mythology and folklore surrounding volcanoes in two different parts of the world. And then we're going to look and introduce you to some interesting and somewhat terrifying real-life lava monsters, if you will. Some particular animals around the world that may surprise you and that you may not have heard of, that rely on volcanoes and, have quite an interesting connection to them. And then at the end, we'll do a brief pop culture little quiz about Slugma and Magcargo to obviously tie in the Pokemon. And I'd be keen to hear from you guys if you've caught a shiny Slugma. I have yet to catch a shiny Slugma, and I'm really looking forward to it because they're so cute. But yes, let me know in the chat if you're watching. I'd love to say hi to you guys, and of course, as many of you know, this is a very interactive live stream. I love posing little questions to you all, so hopefully you guys are ready to go. And then if you're watching on replay, like I know my friend Jody often does, please let me know as well, because it's always nice to say hi to you guys, and feel free to interact as well with the comments and test your knowledge, if you will. So, hello, Rita. Nice to see you. I was wondering where my friend Rita was at. I know I have a few other friends coming. Oh, hello, Lucky LD. It's been a while since you've joined on a live stream. I know you've been quite frustrated you've missed them, but it's nice to see you here. So I hope you're ready to go, because we are going globe-trotting this evening. I am so excited to share with you some lesser-known animals and maybe some lesser-known myths and legends surrounding volcanoes. So what we're going to do is I'm going to share my screen. There we go. That's where you can find me. I guess I should probably, actually, let's go back to me really quick. Holy cow, guys, we did it! 1,000 subscribers! Now, I don't want to celebrate too much in tonight's live stream because there's going to be a whole video based on us celebrating next week. I'm going to film it this Saturday, and so if you have any questions for me that you want answered in the video, whether it be about animals or my journey working with animals or pop culture, whatever the case may be, please message me on Instagram at Shelby on Safari, or you can pop them on my post on the community tab about that. Probably not put it in the live stream because our live streams are quite active and I don't want to miss it. So please message me either on Instagram or on the community tab post your questions and let me know if you want a shout out in it or not. If you don't say anything, I assume you want a shout out because why not? We're all friends here. All right, so now let's get down to business to defeat the Huns. Not really. We're going to talk about animals and history, but that's where you can find me. Anyways, we're moving on. So we're going to first start off by going to the islands of Hawaii. Surprise! End of slideshow. That's not right. Oh, fabulous. I love technological fun. On the very first, oh, that's why, because I was on slide number, the end slide. Oh, I'm such a doofus. Here we go, friends. Let's try that one more time, shall we? You would think I've done some of these before. That's the joy of live streams. You never know what's going to happen. look, it's showing my intro video again. Oh, gee golly whiz. This is a good live stream. You know, it is what it is. I'll take it as it comes. I'm going to remove that from the studio. What's this? What is this? That's not what I see on my screen. See, I like to show you guys pictures, and I feel like I've made it more complicated for myself when I share like pictures and things like that with you guys, but it's worth it. I promise you it's worth it. So I'm going to stop sharing that screen, and I'm going to share my new screen. I've been in front of the computer all day today at work, so apologies if I seem a little out of it. Okay, here we go. Here's the moment of truth. I'm going to press change slide. Here we go. Wait for it. Woohoo! It worked. Okay, friends. So for the first part of tonight's live stream, like I said, we're going to be looking into some myths of lava and volcanoes. And so, oh, hello, Julie Tilney. Nice to see you. Hello, everybody. We're going to the islands of Hawaii, and I'm so excited to talk about one particularly curious, interesting person, to say the least. These islands are absolutely stunning. There's the main Hawaiian islands, but then there's also some outliers. But we're going to be focusing today on the big island of Hawaii, and that is the island's called Hawaii, but obviously there's a Hawaiian island chain. And we're going to be talking of Pele, of course, probably one of the better known volcano kind of deities. And that's because she's quite the boisterous character, to say the least. And I say this all with reverence and respect, as we'll get to later on. But she resides at the summit of the Kilauea volcano on the Big Island. And for many of you may not know, I actually spent a lot of time on the Big Island of Hawaii studying at my undergraduate level at the University of Hawaii, Hilo. Shout out to the Vulcans, woo-woo! And yeah, I can do that thing, in case you're wondering. And yeah, we were called the Vulcans, or are called the Vulcans. And it is fascinating on this island because of what's known as fog. And back home in California, you know, we have fog in the mornings, or we have smog, but fog is volcanic ash mixed with fog. And the first time I smelled it, I was like, what is that? And then it hit me, and I realized because we're actually on an active volcano, which is quite trippy. So I encourage you, if you have the opportunity, please try to make your way to these beautiful islands, especially the Big Island in particular, because of Kilauea. Now, with regards to Pele in particular, I feel like I wanted to bring her up because because of her nature as kind of the volcano kind of deity, and she represents many different things, but she's both creative in nature and destructive in nature. There's this duality to Pele, because obviously, you know, volcanoes, they destroy what's in their path, you know, with the lava kind of. There's some famous pictures, actually, and I should have put them in the slides, of, you know, molten lava flows, and there's a sign saying like no parking sticking out. That's on the Big Island of Hawaii, actually. And while we have that kind of destructive nature in mind, because the volcano, like the Big Island is always growing, quite literally, because of the new lava and technically new land. And there's a few pictures of it going into the water. And I think that's something. Sometimes some of these animals, like vultures, for example, they very much have that duality nature of, okay, they're gross because they eat gross stuff, but they play a really important role. And so I think it's important for us in all different aspects of our life, not to get too deep on a Tuesday night, but, you know, to recognize that duality. And that's why I really wanted to highlight Pele, because of that nature. And it's not just, and I'm going to say some gnarly stuff about her, because obviously she's quite unpredictable and volatile in nature, you know, representing kind of the volcano and how people view the volcano. But this is in Volcano National Park, which is conveniently at the volcano site on the Big Island of Hawaii. And this crater is believed to be where she resides at. And it's important to note, yeah, I always wondered what the Big Island was called. Yes, Rita, it is called Hawaii, which is a bit confusing. And it's actually in the shape of a dog's face, if you look at it. But anyways, going back. So the big part of Pele, and I think one thing for us to take in mind as people who I hope love animals and love nature and get outside and explore, is also having this great respect and reverence. And especially with regards to kind of when we think of cultures around the world and how they do this to the deities that kind of symbolize things such as this, like Pele with the creation side of things, but also the destructive side. And they really respect Pele. And it's something important, as a tourist or as, someone who had the opportunity to live there, is to keep that in mind when you go to places like this. Because it's actually customary when visiting Kilauea in particular to ask permission from Pele to travel through her land. And it's done in a variety of different ways. Some leave offerings. You can just ask. It's whatever kind of, I guess, just expressing kind of how you feel. But it's important to show that respect. And I think that's the biggest thing from Pele, the, goddess of the volcano in the Hawaiian mythology, is that reverence and respect for what she does and what she can do, and not to get on her bad side. And that is a windy mountain. That is the crater, my friend, on the Big Island. It is certainly something, and there's some of the smoke, and it is a surreal sight to see. On the island, there's so many different marvelous places. You have the rainforest in the kind of north eastern side, and then to the west you have Kona, which I know some of you really are fans of your coffee. Kona coffee is big there, and then in the south it's more volcano. But let's take a question time, because y'all know I love throwing in some questions. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think Pele's full name means? Do you think it means A, she who shapes the sacred land, B, she who burns the world, or C, she who sings? But that's a quite nice one, actually. She who sings. But yes, please let me know in the chat what you think Pele's full name means. And there's an artistic drawing of her, which I thought is quite trippy, because look at her hair. It's like the lava flows, which is great. And in fact, I might at some point share a few stories from when I went to the lava flows, because that was very trippy, seeing the lava flow in person. And I went towards the evening and it was getting dark, and off in the distance you could see this red glowing fire, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's actually lava. That's crazy. It is certainly a sight to behold. Okay, we got A. Oh, I'm glad you guys are all being nice. Thank you. You kick some mean ball. No, it is in fact A, she who shapes the sacred land. And I tried to give hints as kind of the reverence and the respect that is given to Pele. She who burns the whole world, that sounds a bit mean. And then she who sings, I actually put it in reference to the Hawaiian tree snails, which we discussed a few weeks ago, and how the Hawaiians think that the tree snails, they sing when they go up and down the trees. So that was a little nod to my friends, the Hawaiian tree snails. Now, I bet you're wondering, okay, we've talked about Pele, reverence and respect, but why is Shelby really honing in on this? We get the point. Well, it's because Pele is known for actually having a curse. Now, friends, when you go to the beautiful islands of Hawaii, sometimes it's nice, look at that. Isn't that cool looking? Those are people on a boat. And in fact, I think my friend Chapa, you may have recognized him from the Magikarp cake video that we did ages ago. I love Chapa. He's a hoot. He actually got to go on one of these boats and see lava, going into the ocean. How cool is that? But when you go to the islands, you can be tempted, or when you go anywhere really in nature, you could be tempted to take a piece of nature home with you. So say you go visit Pele and see Kilauea, and you're like, wow, that's really cool. I'm going to take a piece of lava home with me, bro. And Pele's curse has something else to say about that. So it is rumored to believe that anyone who removes anything natively Hawaiian, so like rock, like sand, like coral, anything, will feel the wrath of Pele in the form of many, many years of bad luck. Now, it comes and goes. Some people say it was actually created by park rangers who were getting irritated with tourists taking parts of the park with them home, which fair enough. But ironically enough, and I don't know the reasoning behind this, I'll leave you to decide. Some think, obviously, it's either legend, but to this day, people still send pieces of rocks back to the Big Island that they have taken with them, and they send it back to hopefully get rid of their bad luck or misfortune that apparently they have experienced. And I guess I'm of the mind where, I could, I have respect for Pele, you know, being on the island and feeling kind of the energy or the mana, the power of the islands. You know, you're like, I could kind of get why they created like Pele. Like, I get it. But at the same time, obviously, the science side is like, yeah, right. But I think either way, it's a win-win situation, because if people, you know, whether which way they believe, if it's Pele or whatnot, it's a win-win for the place, right? Because you don't take some of the lava home with you. But I leave that for you to decide if you think it's true or not. But Pele's curse, you don't want to mess around with it either way, because you don't want to mess up the ecosystem, but you also don't want to mess with Pele. So that is Pele of the Big Islands. Oh, here's a picture of actually some of the offerings people leave Pele at her crater area. So in the form of leis, which are those beautiful kind of flower necklaces, which are beautiful smelling, or all sorts of stuff. And so it is nice to see, you know, aspects of the culture still coming through. And in fact, actually, shout out to the Big Island of Hawaii, Hilo University, because they actually have a Hawaiian school there to continue helping people learn the Hawaiian language and keep it going and keep it alive, which is beautiful. It is a stunning, absolutely stunning languages. Now, speaking of islands and really cool places with some crazy stories, for our next lava monster tale, we're going to go over to Iceland. Now, I was a bit surprised with this one because I knew I wanted to do Pele, but I was like, okay, where are some other really interesting volcano stories? And Iceland never really came to mind. I was still thinking more tropical. I don't know if it's because it's January and I'm trying to get like tropical minds, but we're going to Iceland. And actually, I'd love to see in the chat if any of you have been to Iceland. A girl in her passport asked a really good question. Who do they address it back to? I think they send it back to the national park itself directly. I'm not sure if that's true or what, but I would imagine that's where they send it back to based on my source, because I was reading on the government website to see if that still does happen, and they say it still happens. So I imagine it's back to the U.S. government service. But yes, now, yes, Iceland. I know Tiff, you travel, girl in her passport. She's a traveler, obviously given her channel name, girl in her passport. She's bebopping about. But Iceland, has anybody been to Iceland? I'd really like to go. And definitely after sites like this, like what a trippy volcano. Talk about a stark contrast to the tropical islands of the Pacific to Iceland with all the snow. But I was surprised to find out, guys, that Iceland has around 130 volcanic mountains, 18 of which have erupted since humans settling in Iceland about 871 AD. So quite a few volcanic mountains. Luckily, it seems like not a lot of them are terribly active, but enough, 18. That's still a pretty high number for me that has been active since humans arrived and settled on Iceland. Now, this particular volcano we're going to talk about is called Katla. I hope that's the correct pronunciation. And I chose Katla because it's the largest, well, one of the largest, and the most active. Now, when she erupts, it heats the glacier that's above her, so you can see kind of the glacier here, and it can cause some serious flooding. So you don't just have to worry about the volcano exploding, you have to worry about the glacier as well. So there's many different facets to the volcano Katla here than meets the eye. Now, speaking of Katla and erupting, I want to know what you guys think. In the past, it appears that Katla has erupted every 40 to 80 years. How long do you think it has been since the last eruption of Katla, the volcano in Iceland? How many years? Is it A, 200 years since the last eruption, B, 20 years, or C, 100 years? And this is also a picture of Katla, by the way, just at a very different time of year, which I thought was pretty, because look at those flowers. That looks stunning. I just want to run through that field. Like, that looks like a pristine field for running through. I don't know why my mind went there. And also, shout out for my otter mug. I'm using my otter mug tonight because I'm feeling utterly amazing. I forget y'all can't laugh. I'm laughing in my head at that terrible pun. Hopefully you guys are laughing too. All right, let's see. Rita says C. Alice says A. Katie says C. Lucky L says A. Well, It's actually been, drum roll, 100 years since the last eruption. So a couple of sea dogs. Yes, 100 years since the last eruption, which, given by past data, suggests that it is due for an eruption in the near future. But who knows how it goes. Now, Pele has the Hawaiian Islands. Katla, conveniently, is the name of the volcano, but also the name of the witch who's involved in this story. So bear with me as I go through and tell this tale, and I put up a really moody picture of the Katla volcano in Iceland looking nice and moody for you guys for this tale, because we thought Pele was kind of ruthless, and I didn't go into too much detail of her stories, but there's so many different types of Hawaiian oral stories that have been passed down and across the islands. But long story short, Pele is kind of possessive. She has a lover on an island, and she sends her sister to bring the lover back, and stuff happens, and so Pele destroys her sister's orchard. It's a nightmare. It's a mess. But Pele, has quite the temper. And it turns out this Katla girl in Iceland, well, she's pretty ruthless as well, but there's something unique about her. But Katla, before I get too distracted, she was a ruthless witch who conveniently happened to also be a housekeeper of a monastery. Go figure, right? I'm a witch, but I also happen to help out on a monastery. And at this monastery, it was no average monastery, or I should say no average witch housekeeper who worked at the monastery, because she must have been pretty good at her job, but she also had a pair of magical pants. Now, this is a topic for discussion because I recognize that here in England, pants stand for something different than what I would refer to as an American pants. I believe pants in the British term refers to undergarments or underwear, whereas my pants would refer to like trousers or jeans. Now, across the sources and reading about this Katla thing, I would like to clarify that it often does say pants, and I have seen shorts. So, assuming that the one source that said shorts was correct, we'll assume for all intensive purposes these were shorts rather than underpants. But who knows? Maybe this might be the source of Katla's ruthless anger. I'll leave that for you to decide. And Peter, I hear you. Peter just meeped outside the door. So this Katla girl, witch, she had a pair of magical pants or shorts, whatever you want to say, that gave whoever was wearing them the power to either run really quick without getting tired or to fly. Again, either sources said something different, but either way, you were able to escape or run really quick. You could get somewhere quite quickly. Sounds like some pretty cool pants for sure. Right, boxer shorts. Yeah, it could be, but whatever we want it to be, I suppose. Now at this monastery in beautiful Iceland, to keep things going, they also had to have sheep, right? For food and for wool and whatnot. And so there was unfortunately a rather lackluster, not productive shepherd who worked at this monastery, who frequently lost the sheep of the monastery. And Katla was getting quite frustrated with this guy. She's like, dude, come on. You keep losing the sheep. Keep track of your sheep. That's your job. You're a shepherd. Get with it. And the guy was a bit like, ooh, oh dear, I still have a few missing. I'm going to get in big trouble. And when she found out in her, the straw that broke the camel's back, she snapped. She was like, okay, you're not coming back to the monastery until you get those sheep. Get me these sheep. And so she kicked him out of the monastery. And well, luckily the shepherd had some foresight. He's like, all right, I'm probably going to get in big trouble. He actually found her pants and stole them. And he was like, all right, this will help me find my sheep so I can get back to the monastery quicker. So, props to the shepherd for having that, future sight to think, I'm going to nick the magical shorts, I guess. But it didn't prove so well for him, because while he did find the sheep quite quickly and returned it and got access back to the monastery, well, you can imagine that Katla being, a witch, but also she seemed on it about the sheep. She recognized, hey, the sheep came back pretty darn quick. What did you do? And she called him out for stealing her magical shorts, and she wasn't happy about that. She's probably a little happy to get her sheep back, but she was happy the guy stole her pants. What did she do? Well, she killed him. She was so upset that she actually drowned him in acid, which was used to preserve kind of the food of the monastery. Talk about escalation here, guys. Yeah, Ketla went to the bit extreme. And so for a few months, when he was in this kind of, place where they were storing the acid to preserve the food, come springtime, when it came time to, get the food out, they found the guy's body. And they're like, dude, Ketla, what's going on? They called her out on it, the monks at the monastery, and she fled with her magical shorts. And she fled to this part of the world in a nearby crevasse in a nearby mountain. And unfortunately, she chose the wrong one. She actually went into a magma chamber, which soon after her arrival started to erupt. Talk about bad luck. And it is believed in legend that because Ketla was wearing her magical shorts, that it made the eruption a bit larger than normal. And ironically, the glacier flooding, because as we know, it's on, near the glacier, the volcano's under the glacier. When it erupted, the glacier melted and the flooding went right for the monastery. And so that is the legend of Ketla. And I was like, wow, what a tale. That's not something you hear every day. That is for sure. A vengeful witch with a magical pair of shorts who works at a monastery. Who knew? But here's another shot of it. Man, don't you just want to go to Iceland? Definitely not worth stealing magical shorts for, but definitely worth to go visit and see in person. That is for sure. Probably a little chilly, but it looks beautiful. So those were our two tales of the wonders of lava and lava monsters. Up next, we're going to look at some animals that may or may not surprise you, that have a connection to lava and volcanoes, before, of course, talking about Slugma and Magcargo. And this is all in celebration for the event that's happening now in Pokemon Go, the Mountains of Power event, and, of course, the release of Shiny Slugma, which got me thinking about lava and lava monsters and connecting it all together, which is what we do here on Shelby on Safari as a wild animal biologist and Pokemon trainer and many other things, and also a lover of history and culture and travel. I like to combine them all into one. And so tonight, let's now go back to the Big Islands of Hawaii, because I want to introduce you to an animal that is only found on the Big Island of Hawaii. And this particular animal specifically enjoys young lava flows. They're very picky about their lava flow, so it's a good thing that they happen to be on the Big Island of Hawaii, where it is quite active. I am talking about the adorable, the lovable dark lava cricket. What a looker. I mean, wowee. Look at that beauty. Yes, indeed. The dark lava cricket is endemic to the Big Island of Hawaii, and they won't actually inhabit a lava flow that is older than 100 years old. They just won't like it. They don't like it. They want to go for the younger lava flows. Sometimes Sorry, the kitty's interrupted. Please don't fight during the live stream. The dark lava crickets won't inhabit a lava flow that is older than 100 years old. Instead, they'll go for younger ones. And particularly, they'll go for lava flows as young as 1 month old. So the lava has barely had time to cool, and the little dark lava crickets are there munching away on bits and bobs. You can come in, but you need to give me some heads up, mate. It's Peter. He's being really cheeky tonight. Anyways, so it's question time, friends. Oh yeah, here's another shot of the Big Island with some of the lava flows. Isn't that so cool looking? You guys haven't actually seen it, have you? Here we go. Here it is. In fact, I'll try to go back so you guys can see the lava cricket, but it's not going to work for me, is it? Because I have technical issues tonight. There's another shot of the dark lava cricket, which is endemic to the island of Hawaii. But yes, so let's go now to the question, because that's what I said we were going to do. Here's the dark lava cricket. Isn't he cute? Oh, it's just so cool that animals have evolved to be so specialist in nature, and you can see it for yourself when you go to the islands. It's fascinating. Okay, anyways, the question. Now, that is not the only thing that's young about the dark lava cricket, that they like young lava flows. In particular, they are relatively recently described to science and were recently given, thus being described by science, their scientific name. Friends, in the chat, please let me know which of these following options you think is correct. When were the dark lava crickets given a scientific name? Was it A, in 1999, B, in 1978, or C, 1985? I know I'm not going to sing the song 1985. I'm going to drink out of my otter mug. Yes, the lava cricket is rather cute. And there's something weird about the lava cricket, actually, apart from the fact that it loves lava flows and likes to go explore young lava flows in the hunt for food. They come out at night to eat like the debris that gathers in the cracks of lava flows. So I know many of you, and myself included, think, crickets, night, they must be chirping. Well, actually, these dark lava crickets are wingless crickets that don't actually have the adaptations required to make like that cricket chirping noise. And so they are relatively silent, but they are cool because they eat, debris in the cracks of lava. I mean, how cool is that? All right. So what do we think? Only Lucky L has posted her question, or no, Katie said C. Lucky L says B. Lucky L, you are correct. It is indeed B. 1978 was when they were described by science. That's how new they are. And there is so much to be discovered about these guys. And as you can imagine, it's quite tricky studying lava crickets at night on a lava flow. But that's what's so exciting about like science and nature, is that there's still more to be discovered. And I know, thinking of the ocean in particular, like there's so many more cool creatures under the depths, but even here on land, there's still animals that we still need to know more about. And the dark lava cricket is certainly one of them. So I was chuffed you guys are excited to meet the dark lava cricket, because they don't get enough love. They're so cool. What other kind of crazy animal actively seeks out young lava flows to find food? Now, we are going globe trotting tonight. We've been to Iceland, we've been to the island of Hawaii, and now we're heading to Tanzania. In particular, we're going to Lake NATRON. Now, I'm going to set the scene for you guys, because in Tanzania, and you might be thinking, what's that? Lake NATRON is on the northern edge of a volcano, hence the volcano themed. Now, in this particular lake, and I felt like this one would be nice, aptly fitting because we're talking lava monsters, there is a lot of calcified remains of animals who fell into this salty water. Now, this water in particular of this Lake NATRON in Tanzania is gnarly, to say the least. It can get up to 140 degrees Fahrenheit and has a pH between 9 to 10.5. So essentially, the waters of this lake are so corrosive that it can strip ink off printed materials, and it can burn the eyes and like the skin of animals that are unadapted to this salinity. So it's quite the intense lake. And as you see in this particular picture, it is red. You guys were probably looking at it going, wait a second, Shelby, where's the lake? It is red. This lake changes color, guys. So during the wet season, the lake is blue. But in the dry season, that's when things change. Because of the cyanobacteria that photosynthesize into bright red colors as the water evaporates and the salinity kind of rises, that's what gives it this red color. So not only is it trippy because there's like calcified remains of animals who made the unfortunate error of getting even near the lake, but then it's also red for some parts of the year. Like, how crazy is that? And I bet you guys are thinking, okay, what kind of animal is she going to introduce us to now? It's probably going to be some weird, crazy scorpion or, I don't know. I don't know what you're thinking. I'm not going microscopic here. Don't worry. And I'm not going for an invertebrate. This animal's going to hopefully knock your socks off. Now, drum roll, this animal that can actually really relies upon this for the survival of its species. It's about darn tootin' time I talk about a flamingo. It is indeed the lesser flamingo. Look at these guys. Aren't they gorgeous? Look at the color of their eyes. Pretty cool, huh? Makes you think of a lava monster. And like their bill as well. So yes, this is the lesser flamingo. Whoo-wee. And you're probably like, wait a second. How is this bird putting up with the salinity of the water of this volcanic lake, and what's going on? Well, hold your horses, friends. I want to ask you guys, roughly, how many of the world's lesser flamingos, in percentage-wise, do you think are born on this lake, NATRON in Tanzania? This red, highly salty, crazy volcanic lake. Tell me in the chat, is it A, 25%, B, 50%, C, 75%, or D, 100%? Like what I did there, I didn't give any crazy weird numbers. I went for nice, solid choices. So in the chat, please tell me, I'm most curious, how many you think? And just in case you're wondering, that is a baby flamingo. Aren't they so cute and so fluffy? Oh, I wish I could show a picture of their legs, because their legs are so cute and so awkwardly proportioned, to say the least. Okay, we got D, we got C, we got F. Oh, way to come at me, Julie. Julie, what option is F? What percentage is that, please? Lucky LD says D. I'm not surprised because you're Lucky LD. It is in fact C. 75% of the world's lesser flamingos are born on this really ridiculously highly salty volcanic lake. Like, what? That's nuts. Now, I feel like I should explain the situation a bit more detail. And so I'll put up a pretty picture while I do. So I'm not suggesting that these lesser flamingos are lava monsters. However, because of the salinity nature and the high pH of this lake, they use it to their advantage when the conditions are right. So about once every 3 to 4 years, they will stop here to breed. And it depends on a few of the different factors, like water level in particular, because they'll nest on like the salt crystal islands that appear when the water level is just right. Because if it's too high, then they can't nest. And then if it's too low, if they nest, predators could walk out and snatch their chicks and snatch their eggs. So that's why it happens kind of every 3 to 4 years. Now, these nest, they act, well, not the nest act as a moat, but the nest act as like the little castle and the little chicks in the castle. And then the water surrounds it and acts as a moat to protect them from predators, the little baby flamingos. Now, for the adult flamingos, like we see in this picture, you might be thinking, okay, well, we heard, Shelby, you said it's so high that it can damage the skin and the eyes of animals that aren't adapted to this. But never fear, the lesser flamingo has evolved to have quite leathery skin that on their legs that help them to tolerate the salt levels of this lake. And so I just was so excited to share with you an unusual animal that relies on quite an interesting body of water that happens to be on the edge of a volcano. And yeah, it's just a unique type of animal that's reliant on this particular area of the world. And 75% of the world's lesser flamingos are born here. That's crazy. And definitely a sight to behold. I bet that would be fantastic to see in person. So yes, you should have gone with your gut feeling. Yeah, that's fine. That is fine. We won't judge. Now, apologies for this picture for being blurry, and hopefully it will make sense in a while why it's quite tricky to get pictures like this. For our next species, in fact, I've thrown in an awkward 2 because my friends, the Wildlife Brothers, mentioned a particular species last night in a quick Instagram live. That I wanted to throw in. We're yet again going to another island. So we've been to Hawaii to meet Pele and the dark lava cricket. We went to Iceland to hear the story of Katla. And now, we went to Tanzania to see flamingos. And now we're heading to the Galapagos. In particular, we're going to Wolf Island. Now, this island is so remote that it has never been, it was never landed on until 1964. And really, the only way it was able to be landed on because of the sheer cliffs was because of a helicopter. They had helicopter help. Because, as you can see, quite blurrily, they have some pretty gnarly cliffs. And so no tourists are allowed in this part of the Galapagos. You need a very special permit to be able to go and take pictures, as a scientist and do some research. It's very, very, very remote and very, very protected. So hence why there's not many pictures to choose from, I'm afraid. And some are quite blurry. Now, the Galapagos might sound familiar to you for many different reasons, but if you are a fan of Pokemon and a fan of science, I encourage you after this, if you haven't already, check out my video on Eevee and its evolutions. In particular, how I had the hot take, thanks to a witty idea by a certain particular someone, to look at Darwin's finches. And I use kind of Darwin's finches as a model for Eevee and its evolutions. And I highly recommend you check that one out, because I'm not going to go into too much detail here because I'm mindful of time. But we are going to be looking at one of Darwin's finches. And very quick, brief, ever so brief summary of it. So our friend Darwin had looked at the finches of the Galapagos Island, and the variation in the beaks of these finches across the different islands helped Darwin form his theory of evolution by natural selection. So yeah, for more, please check out my Eevee video on that. And so this beak in particular of this particular ground finch, which is found on the islands of Wolf and actually Darwin, is not your typical ground finch. However, I should say, before we get into the nitty-gritty, they do normally feed on seeds and insects. However, as you can imagine, on islands such as this, which are already really remote, no humans inhabit these islands, and even scientists are few and far between to visit the island. During the dry season, it gets tough for these little ground finches. The seeds and insects, well, they're gone. That food source runs out. And so what these little particular ground finches have done it's believed that they started off by eating the parasites on big seabirds who rest on the island. These guys are known as Nazca boobies, and these little ground finches would help them, you would think, by eating the little parasites off their wings. But unfortunately, it evolved into something far, far, far more mysterious and far more lava related. And if you're wondering, whoa, what's the lava connection? It's because these are volcanic islands. Anyways, look how beautiful that is. I mean, look at those cliffs, look at the site, and you're probably thinking, okay, that looks like a nice place. However, it is the land of the vampire ground finch. Ooh, spooky. I should do a video on these guys for Halloween, actually, because I like doing my spooky animals. And you might be thinking, what a cute bird. Well, because this is a family show, I'm not going to put a picture of what happens when I've described what they do to the poor seabirds that are resting and minding their own business. And these little vampire ground finches come and they are like, let me help you with those parasites. Not. They pick at the base of the seabird's feathers until blood begins to flow, of which they will lap up with their tongues, which you might be thinking, okay, wait, that's gross. And yes, it kind of is, but it's important to help the ground finch survive because of the nutrients that are in the blood. But I'm pleased to say that these little twerps, for lack of a better word, don't actually apparently do any serious damage to the seabirds, because the seabirds in comparison are quite big. And from what scientists can tell, that this behavior from the ground finches doesn't actually seem to cause significant or lasting damage to the seabirds. So that's the good thing. So it seems to be all right, but still kind of mean to the seabirds, if you will. But just fascinating behavior. And you can see if we were put this ground finch along with the other of Darwin's finches, that the beak in this particular one, per this, adaptation for dealing with life on this gnarly island, actually has the most kind of pointed, sharp beak of Darwin's finches. And that is the vampire ground finch. I know, right? They are absolutely crazy looking, the vampire groundfinch. And if you are keen to see pictures, there are some, but I just didn't want to put any on here. They're not terribly graphic, but graphic enough to where I was like, ooh, I don't know if people would want to see that. But yeah, they do. It does get a little bloody, but what a crazy adaptation to have for life on a gnarly volcanic island. So definitely of the species I chose, I feel like this one is probably the most like a lava monster of what you would assume a lava monster is if we're going scary. But if we're going for pure namesake, shout out to the Wildlife Brothers for mentioning the amazing lava lizards. You can tell up on the right-hand side of the screen, I've purposely put their genus and species because there's a few different species of lava lizard. And so I didn't want to get terribly specific. In fact, when I say a few different species of lava lizards on the Galapagos Islands, I want you guys to tell me how many you think there are. Are there A, 10 different species of lava lizard, B, 5 different species of lava lizard, or C, 7 different species of lava lizard? Oh, lucky L, you've seen it. Oh, how fascinating. Let me try to move my mouse while people comment what they think. All right, Alice says C. Lucky L, you saw a documentary. Yes. Isn't it surreal? Absolutely surreal to see it. And definitely an animal that is fantastic in terms of its adaptability to a tricky situation. I'm just chuffed that the seabirds, the Nazca boobies, don't seem to have any effects, kind of lasting effects of it. But yeah, it is bizarre to see a bird doing that. That is for sure. Oh my gosh. Is that who I think it is? Lindsay, 7. Yes, indeed. You come in here at the end of the live stream and you just hot take, you drop the correct answers. Who do you think you are? Cheeky rascal. So yes, there are 7 different species of lava lizards found across the Galapagos Islands. Now, these guys have a really unique ability to change color if they feel threatened or if there's a temperature change, which is quite unique. And you can see their beautiful coloration of some species kind of on their front, that nice bright red color. Now, speaking of lava monsters, while these guys do help with, say, like insect population control, to go a bit dark after talking about the vampire groundfinches, the lava lizards have been known to actually eat each other. They can be cannibals sometimes. So it seems like the Galapagos Islands are an interesting place indeed. You got vampire groundfinches and you got cannibalistic lava lizards. What a sight to see. What a sight. So while... Okay, I'll let you off this time. Lindsay was in Spanish class. Well, Lindsay, I'll recap what you missed. You missed learning about Pele, which I know you know a bit about Pele. Of course, the Hawaiian island goddess of the volcano. We briefly talked about Pele's curse. And then we talked about Katla in Iceland, a ruthless witch. Lindsay, she actually had magical shorts or pants. It's up for you to decide. And she got really angry with the shepherd, long story short, and she put him in acid. And then she fled to the mountains and conveniently fled to a volcano, which erupted. And so thus the volcano is named after her. And yeah, it's actually underneath a glacier. And so when it erupts, not only is a volcano erupting, but the glacier kind of melts and floods. So we got to hear some pretty interesting lava tales from around the world. And then I mentioned the lesser flamingo, which is on the island, which is in Tanzania on Lake NATRON. And it is a fantastic lake, high in salinity, but somehow the flamingo toughs it out. And the dark lava cricket of the big island of Hawaii, of course, many of you were a fan of, which I'm pleased to see. A cricket that cannot make a sound, but enjoys finding young lava flows and eating debris that blows into the cracks of newly cooled lava. And then, of course, you came in time for the crazy creatures of the vampire groundfinch and the lava lizards. So with that, it is time for us to talk about the one reason why we were here in the first place, Pokemon. Lava Pokemon indeed, because in Pokemon Go, we are having the Mountains of Power event, and Slugma was the Pokemon that inspired this live stream because I wanted to look more into lava in particular and lava legends and some cool animals that rely on lava. Typically, I do a real life animal Pokemon comparison video, but because Slugma here is known as the lava Pokemon, it's, well, lava. You can't really do it. So that's why I looked at lava myths and lava legends. Now, a few curious things about Slugma from the Pokedex entries. Slugma's circulatory system is composed entirely of magma, which delivers vital nutrients and oxygen to its origin. So if you're not a Pokemon person, Slugma is the one to your left, the one without the shell. Now, interestingly enough about Slugma, apparently to one Pokedex entry, it does say that in order to prevent its body from cooling and hardening, Slugma neither sleeps nor does Slugma ever stop moving. Ooh, talk about a rough life. Because if its body does begin to cool, it will become brittle and may break apart. Ouch. So I can't imagine having to always be on the move and not sleeping. That would be a rough life. Yes. Oh, hello, the Wildlife Brother. They have showed up. Yes, I did mention the lava lizard species. Yes, there are 7, and definitely worth doing a full video in their own right because of what they do. So yes, 7 lava lizard species. Sorry, I hope I said that right. But that is in fact the correct answer. And oh, they've been coding in R all afternoon. God bless you. R is a statistical analysis program that is not user-friendly by any means, but well done. And Alice, be nice to poor Vita. Yes, it looks like Vita gets hungry. In fact, it looks like many of us if we get hungry. I know Lindsay's included in that. Okay, now Mad Cargo here, the one on the right-hand side, the one that has the shell. I have a quick question for you guys about this Pokemon to wrap it up because I know we're going over, and I'm so sorry I didn't talk more about Pokemon, but there's so much cool stuff in the world around us with lava and volcano legends like Pele and Catla, but then of course, obviously some of the animals like the lesser flamingo. Anyways, how hot do you guys think this Pokemon, Mad Cargo, can get? And please note, I did put Celsius and Fahrenheit because I know many of us use one or the other and not both. 8 years in the country and I still use Fahrenheit. Is it A, 150 degrees Celsius or 302 degrees Fahrenheit? B, 1000 degrees Celsius or 1832 degrees Fahrenheit, or C, 10,000 degrees Celsius and 18,032 degrees Fahrenheit. Very specific here, friends. Now, I should say that, as you can see, my cargo has a bit of a shell composed to our friend Slugma. And it's composed of, hardened but brittle magma. You can see bits and pieces of it are flaming out. It's quite crazy. So we got B. Julie coming in with an F again. Julie, where are you getting these numbers from or letters from, my friend? It is actually C. The Pokedex entry went way out with this one. C, 10,000 degrees Celsius. Ooh, that's a bit hot. Now, I should say, before I forget, Slugma is now available as a shiny in Pokemon Go, and I'm actively seeking one. I really would like a shiny Slugma. Let me know in the comments if you happen to get one. And I should also say, for this event, it's half walking distance to earn hearts with buddies. So now would be a great time to be moving and grooving and getting some hearts with your buddies. But with that, for the Pokemon Go Mountains of Power, if you haven't already got your Mega Aerodactyl, I highly recommend you do some raids to get that. But I guess this lava Pokemon really inspired a different trajectory of looking into the real world in terms of lava myths or real life animals. I'd love for you guys to say in the comments down below which thing you found more surprising. You know, I do love to try to throw in history when I can. And hopefully in the next upcoming weeks, I'll be doing a few more history videos because why not? And then, yeah, there's a couple exciting things planned for the channel, of which in next week's video, I will be answering your questions that you guys have sent in. And thank you to those who have sent in questions. I've had an adorable mix of really funny ones and really serious ones, which has been great because I feel it's going to be really reflective of what happens here on our live stream, friends, because that is indeed what seems to go on. There's all sorts of craziness. that goes on these things. But yeah, I'd be keen to hear from you if you prefer more kind of the history of things or the real life kind of animals that are like Pokemon. Let me know. I'm keen to hear because I'd like to make content, but I'd like to make content that people like to watch as well. I think if am answering my own question, the one thing that really surprised me about this, actually, I'm going to pick two because why not? I knew about Pele and I was excited to share about Pele and her story, and hopefully we could go more into Pele. But Ketla, the Icelandic volcano lady, the ruthless kind of witch that had the magical shorts, that story just got weirder and weirder as I was reading it. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like, I never would have thought of that. Like, what an interesting backstory to a volcano. And so that one was quite fun to read. And I thought, wow, I have to share this with my friends. And then the other animal was the dark lava cricket. And I think the reason that one stands out to me is because not much is known about it. It's been recently described by science, 1978. And there's still more to be discovered. But the fact that it has made a living off of, new volcano kind of lava that is cooled, it prefers the younger lava flows. I think that's a really nice kind of story of, hearing of somebody making the most of what some might consider devastation or, distraught things and making the good of it, that life always finds a way. Anybody know where that's from? Pop culture reference. Oh, Lucky L. I love hearing about history and animals, so it's win-win for me. Cheers, Lucky L. That is very kind. I'm glad you like it. Rita just wants to know about cats. Oh, cats. Well, I'm surprised you didn't actually hear the cats earlier. They were running around outside. I think it was Peter and Maui having a fight. And that's probably because both Peter and Maui are having a battle of the merchandise over on the Shelby on Safari Teespring. There's both Maui and Peter merchandise. And at the moment, Peter is winning the merchandise battle with having a few more things sold than Maui. So I think Maui's getting a bit jealous. And I knew I was in good company. Yes, indeed. Wildlife Brothers and Jurassic Park. Yes, indeed. That is the reference. But with that, friends, I must bid you adieu because I can hear the little cheeky boys meeping now, ready for their dinner time. I want to thank you for hanging out with me and exploring around the world, whether we were in Hawaii, in Iceland, or on the Galapagos Islands, or in Tanzania, looking at crazy flamingos living on a salty lake. We've gone all over the place tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. In this week's video on Friday, speaking of otters, we're going to be going back into the world of Pokemon to be looking at what real-life animals are like the starters that you guys will see in Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is coming out at the end of the month. We're going to be looking at Oshawott, the sea otter Pokemon, Cyndaquil, and, of course, Rowlet. And I can guarantee that well, I say this, but I have the Wildlife Brothers watching. Most of you probably wouldn't heard of at least one of them. And I'm really excited because these animals are all impressive and truly like real-life Pokemon in their own right. But yeah, for that, thank you guys so much again for hanging out. If you have any questions that you want answered in the next week's video, is celebrating 1,000 subscribers in the journey so far, be sure to message on the community channel post or message me on Instagram. I'd love to hear from you guys and answer your pressing questions. Don't worry, you don't have to have a hard-hitting question, but if you want one, throw one at me, or if you want something fun, that too. But thanks again, and I will see you all in Friday's video. Bye, guys. Have a good night. Nice to see you guys.